Hey everyone, I'm Michael Ames, Managing Director for Vertical Markets at SADA.
And I'm John Veltri, Managing Director for Google Workspace at SADA.
Really good to be with you here today. We're going to be talking about the results of our incoming workforce survey around Google Workspace that we conducted with College Pulse. We've got some really interesting data to share with you.
When we think about organizations and Google Workspace, traditionally it's been a focus around better collaboration and productivity across an organization and gaining mobility and form factor in how you go about producing a better quality of work. However, in our current time, we're seeing some additional factors weighing on technology decisions. And we look at macroeconomic level climate in the US and globally. And what that's doing for the first time ever is focusing around how are organizations focusing on their total cost of ownership, ensuring that they're protected against the current rate of fiscal inflation and the unforeseen fiscal future economic climate. And second to that, which is a new wrinkle, is traditionally when you have this level of inflation, you usually have a high level of unemployment. But what we have today is a very low level of unemployment. So while you're trying to cut costs and you're trying to reconcile various dispersed technology platforms, you're also trying to ensure that you're enabling your workforce and making it an attractive place to work so that you're retaining top talent as well as attracting that talent and giving them the tools and means to be as productive as they feel they can be with what they need. So when we're thinking about those two different areas, balancing the cost of what it takes to deliver these types of tools and engagement to your employees, as well as being efficient, that's creating a little bit of a challenge for technologists today. And we think Google Workspace is one of those areas that can help solve both of those problems. And that leads us to the College Pulse survey. So I'm going to turn it back to Michael, and he can review some of the data we were able to pull out of this survey.
Yeah, so the genesis of this is I come from an academic background, biomedical research, all of the sort of ethical and data training that comes along with that. One of my mantras in business is in God we trust, all others bring data. And I was in discussion after discussion where people were talking about, oh yeah, the incoming workforce far prefers Google Workspace over alternatives. And I kept hearing this, and I was looking for where's the data? How do we back this up? Dug around, couldn't find it. It's probably out there somewhere. But I said, we've got to get some data to back up these assertions. And so we commissioned College Pulse, which is an independent third-party research organization that focuses on research in the college community on a wide variety of questions and problems, and contracted with them to go do this on our behalf in order to ensure that the results that we got back were verifiable, independent, trustworthy, and they were awesome. Shout out to College Pulse for great work, both supporting us and also keeping us honest, right? Making sure that we weren't phrasing questions in a way that would bias those answers. We focused on upperclassmen and graduate students because we wanted to look at the incoming workforce of maybe the next 5 years or so. And we also focused on this concept of collaboration. As an innovation-oriented company, we recognize that collaboration is where innovation occurs. And that's what we wanted to get some assessment of. And so we looked at docs versus Word. We looked at slides versus PowerPoint, sheets versus Excel, on down the line, and simply asked for preferences. If you're going to collaborate in creating something, which platform would you prefer? Let me pause. John, you know what some of these numbers are, but be honest, before we did this survey, where would you have guessed these results might have landed?
To be honest, I probably would have thought they were right around where they are. And not to, I know that's a bad answer, but
You're a
leading
true
in on so
fanboy,
what we've
John. Yeah, go on.
seen, what we've seen over the last 10 years in terms of engaging in Google Workspace with the market, this has been a mantra of Google and of SADA and the larger ecosystem that the next generation workforce wants these tools. However, every time you see it, it tends to, not necessarily surprise, but further solidify your belief.
Sure. So I came to it from a different perspective. I'm here because I believe in these tools, obviously. But 10 years in academia, you get exposed to a wide variety of of preferences and opinions. And I would have guessed that we would have had a clear winner in docs. I would have guessed a material preference of PowerPoint over slides, and I would have been like on the razor's edge with Sheets versus Excel. So I'm just laying that down. All honesty, that's where I would have been before we did the survey. Overall results, and imagine how this blew me away as we heard this. 86% of upperclassmen and graduate students in college prefer docs over Word. 75% preferred slides over PowerPoint. 62% prefer Sheets over Excel. Looking at email, there's a 72% preference for Gmail. So on down the line, the core components of the collaboration platform, we saw a significant preference for Workspace borne out in the data, plus or minus 3.5% confidence interval there. And then when we simply asked, look, which collaboration platform overall gives you a more advanced and seamless, more modern way to collaborate, 75% called it for Workspace. So blew our minds. That's overall across all majors, all grades, all different kinds of schools and universities from across the US. Those have all been published, and you can see them out there in our white paper and our ebook. Digging down, though, into some data that we didn't have space for, we can get into specific majors and industries. Computer science majors prefer Sheets over Excel. Business majors prefer docs over Word by 87%. And when we look at pre-med, they preferred slides. This was the one that I was thinking was going to lose. Pre-med majors preferred slides over PowerPoint by 96%. Off the charts, so far beyond what we expected, even again, myself as a believer in these tools, or I wouldn't be working here. There were a couple of exceptions. So finance majors, right? This is an industry that has been embedded in Excel forever, and they remain loyal there, but not by as much as you think. Somewhere between 40-50% of finance majors will actually say that they prefer Sheets over Excel. So that's our one place where we sort of cut down the middle. So we're looking at this and we're like, well, what could possibly be driving this? And this is speculative, and we want to do a little bit more research to uncover this. But we think that there is a very real difference between the capability of a product as a standalone tool, as the ability, for example, in Microsoft Word to let you deliver a pixel perfect document for the printed page. Sure, if that's what your goal is, do that in Word because it's going to give you the ability to fine tune the kerning of the letters and every single pixel of the borders around the tables. Great. If that's your jam, that's where you belong. But like I said, innovation stems from collaboration. And when it comes to getting a team together working on these projects, it is tough to beat the work that Google has done to create these collaborative experiences. So then we wanted to look at this a little bit further and say, okay, it's great that people have these preferences, but does it really matter for business leaders who are trying to fill hard to fill positions? And this is what we found out. So we asked them, other things being equal, would it matter to you the collaboration platform that was being used in a company where you got a job offer? And half of them said that knowing that Google Workspace was there would make the job more appealing compared to just 30% preferring Microsoft. Remarkable, right? And so there's a very real and material differentiator in saying, come to our company, we've got great benefits, we're going to give you a great job, great opportunities, growth and things. And if they see along the way that you are built on Google Workspace, then you present to them a material reason why they might choose you over another competing offer. Again, fully unexpected to us. While we were at it, we also asked about cloud computing experience, Google Cloud Platform versus AWS. Side note outside of Workspace, but once again, 2-to-1 answered that GCP would make a job offer more appealing over AWS. We were really excited to get the numbers, and now I don't have to feel nervous about we're just saying things that don't matter. These are real. We've published the data. We invite you to go out and take a look at it. Exciting for me, but there's more to it than this always. So John, just to close us out, what other things should business leaders be thinking about beyond what we've discussed here?
Sure. I mean, it kind of leads into it, right? But if you're thinking about what else is driving decisions today and how did we get to where we are in the closings of 2022, a lot of it stems back to where we were in the beginning of 2020 related to COVID and a lot of decisions that enterprises and technologists were forced to make in a very quick period of time to ensure that their workforces were stood up and mobile and moving from a centralized location to decentralized, moving to home, right? And what we saw from that is organizations picking up various platforms, point solutions, even to enable as quickly as possible, and rightfully so, a business continuity that kept them open and kept them operating. And now that you've had 2 years of that type of engagement, and then pivoting that to focusing on how are we starting to look at better efficiencies, cost cutting, and enablement around solutions as around to point products, you have this data silos that were created. You have gaps in productivity, gaps in collaboration, and that's becoming a decision point on how do I take my video platform, my chat platform, my collaboration platform, my mail and communication platform, and how are we looking at these various solutions and bringing them into a singular solution, right? That's one area. And then the other key piece to this, and this has been a mantra for Google and Google Workspace for the last decade, is mobility is huge, right? If you look at the new what is work today, is it at home, is it in an office, or is it a hybrid? I think that is yet to actually be borne out. There's still some questions as to what the future holds, but in any case, the idea that data is mobile and isn't locked down to a specific device and is cloud based is what the next generation is looking for. They live on their phones, and that's where they get work done. They don't get it done on a desktop computer. And I think the other piece to that is missed is while this survey and this talk is focused on the next generation coming out of education, if we look at the current younger half of our workforce, they too grew up in a mobile environment, focusing on mobile devices, not necessarily worrying about the device, but wanting the data to move with them. And if you're thinking about how you can organize that and get that done as an enterprise, as a technology, or as a business leader, I think Google and Google Workspace has some good answers for you there in both of those cases.
John, thank you. Really appreciate your observation and insight there. Thanks to everybody who spent time with us today watching this presentation. We hope you continue to enjoy Google Next. We would love to dig in deeper with you on this data, on the other points that have been discussed, and we'll talk to you soon.